You know, every building has a story, but it also has a price tag. The real question is, how do you figure out what that price is? Especially when you're dealing with a property that's, well, complicated, unique, maybe even one of a kind. So let's dive in and see exactly how the pros do it.
All right, take a look at this place. I mean, it's got everything. Offices, a couple of restaurants, even a rooftop bar with these incredible views of downtown Orlando. It's obviously valuable, right? But for how much? How in the world do you put one single solid number on a property this complex?
Well, believe it or not, that's the exact puzzle that a team of appraisers had to solve with this exact property, Major's headquarters. It's kind of the main character of our story today, and let me tell you, it's got a few interesting twists.
See, the first twist is this. It isn't just one building with one address. Nope. It's actually a collection of 5 different properties, all sort of stitched together to act as this single big headquarters. For an appraiser, this is basically a Rubik's Cube made of bricks and mortar. And here's where you can really see that puzzle taking shape. You're looking at 5 completely separate addresses, 5 distinct lots. We're talking about a total of over 48,000 square feet of land. That's more than an acre. And the challenge is to value all of it as one single thing.
So with a puzzle like this, where do you even start? Well, it's not about just throwing out a guess or picking a number that feels right. Real estate appraisal is a serious investigation, and it comes with a very strict rulebook.
Appraisers can't just wing it. They have to follow this strict set of professional standards. In their entire goal, the whole point of the exercise isn't just to find a price, it's to find a very specific, carefully defined number called its market value.
So what exactly is market value? Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is it's the fairest price. It's the price a normal buyer would pay to a normal seller when neither of them is desperate or in a huge rush. It's the price you get from a clean, simple, no funny business kind of deal.
But here's the thing. What if the deal isn't clean and simple? In this case, the property was occupied by the owner, and the different spaces inside were rented out to other businesses that were all related to the owner. The rents they were paying, they might not be what you'd see on the open market. So what's an appraiser supposed to do with that?
They have to set a ground rule. And this is a direct quote from the actual appraisal report, and I think it's just fascinating. The appraiser makes what's called an extraordinary assumption. They basically say, look, to find the true market value, we are going to completely ignore all these internal family rental agreements. We're going to pretend they just don't exist.
Okay, so now that we've set that super important ground rule, the real investigation can finally start. And to find the value, appraisers don't just take one path to the answer. They actually take 3, and they come at the problem from completely different directions. These are the 3 pillars of real estate appraisal. You've got the cost approach, the sales comparison approach, and the income approach. Each one is a totally separate way to calculate value, and using all 3 helps the appraisers zero in on a final, credible number. Let's break them down. First up, we have the cost approach. This one's actually pretty easy to wrap your head around. It asks a really simple question. If this whole property just vanished overnight, what would it cost to buy the empty land and rebuild the exact same buildings right here from scratch? So you add up the cost of the land, the materials, the labor, all of it, and the cost approach gives us our very first number, just over $11.8 million. Okay, that's one piece of the puzzle. But, you know, a building isn't just worth what it costs to build. It's worth what people are willing to pay for it. And that brings us to the second method, the sales comparison approach. This is pretty much what websites like Zillow do for houses, but on a much more complex commercial scale. The appraiser hunts down recent sales of buildings that are as similar as possible, same size, same location, same type of use. And doing that comparison gives us a totally different number, about $11.4 million. So now we've got 2 different values. One is based on building costs. The other is based on what the market is doing. But there's still one more angle to look at. How much money can it make?
So our third and final method is the income approach. This one looks at the property like a pure investment, almost like a stock or a bond. It's a cash-generating machine, and it calculates the property's value based entirely on how much rental income it could realistically bring in every year.
And the income approach spits out our third and final number, a little under $11.8 million. So now, just imagine you're the appraiser. You've got 3 different, totally valid valuations in your hands. The investigation is almost done, but not quite. This brings us to the grand finale, the most critical step of the whole process. It's called the reconciliation. And this is key. The appraiser can't just add up the 3 numbers and divide by 3. No way.
They have to act like a judge, weighing all the evidence to decide which method is the most reliable for this specific property.
So the investigation gave us 3 different results. The sales approach came in the lowest, the cost approach was the highest, and the income approach landed right in the middle. Now they're all in the same ballpark, which is good, but they're not the same. So the big question is, which one do you trust the most?
And this is where the appraiser's expertise really comes into play. For a unique building like this, an owner-occupied headquarters, its value isn't really about what other buildings have sold for, and it's not even just about the rent it could generate. The most important question for this owner is, what would it cost me to replace this exact building? And that's why the appraiser decided to put the most weight on the cost approach.
So after this whole careful process, the investigation, the analysis, weighing all the evidence, the appraiser gets to synthesize everything down into one final conclusion, the definitive answer we've been looking for.
The as-is market value of Major's headquarters as of June 18, 2019 was determined to be $11,710,000. That right there, that is the single defensible number that this entire rigorous process was designed to uncover.
And that's really the big takeaway here. Real estate valuation isn't magic, and it's not guesswork. It's a method. It's a system. It's how you take a messy, complex, one-of-a-kind asset, and by applying clear rules and looking at it through 3 different lenses, you can arrive at a single point of clarity.
It's an incredibly powerful tool for figuring out financial worth, no doubt about it. But it kind of leaves us with a bigger question, doesn't it? This whole process is amazing at calculating a building's value in dollars and cents. But how do we, and maybe more importantly, how should we, calculate the value a place like this adds to the culture, and the character, and the life of the community that it's a part of? Now that is something to think about.